Okay, so let's start with the next topic of time-based analysis. Okay, the third kind of chart is control chart. So here you can see this kind of chart is called as control chart. What we have is first is a must that to include time series in our chart. That is, we have included firstly years. As you can see in the columns, we have years. Next, we have got months. Okay, and we are performing a monthly analysis in particular year. Okay, again monthly analysis in another year. So these individual trends are the sales trend. This represent the sum of sales in each month. Like here we can see the months, and in these months in a particular year. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to control a measure, okay, according to the threshold, right? So what we have decided, okay, firstly this line is the average. Okay, this is the reference line we have drawn, which is average. Secondly, we have decided an upper limit and a lower limit for that particular average. Like this is the standard deviation, the dispersion of values for that particular average. Like what are the values that are closer to the average, right, in the upper limit and lower limit. Now what we have got is these red marks represent the out of range. So we have decided a range for sales. Okay, so from here to here, this is the range of sales that we have decided, which we can see in range the sales achieved were in range sales. And then we can think that those who are outside that range are out of range. Okay, now this kind of chart can be drawn when any company is investigating the defects. Okay, and what are those defects, and when those defects occurred, that company has to resolve. Okay, so we can check. Okay, let's consider that this is the defect chart. Suppose this is the defect chart, right? In this case, if these are the defect that occurred in April, June and August, there is no need to do anything. Okay, there's not any need to do anything, right? But in this case, as we can see, if these defects are out of control, then in these months like October, November, December, then something must be done in order to resolve those defects. So this kind of chart can be applied in that application as well, when we are finding out the defects and when those defect occurs and when do we need to configure those, right? So let's create this chart. Okay, so the dataset I'm using is global superstore dataset, and we will be analyzing sales. We will be creating a threshold for sales, and we will be checking out what are those sales which lie in that threshold and lie outside the threshold. Okay, so there should not be any problem if the sales are higher than that, but if it is lower than that, then company has to do something in that case. Okay, so for that, firstly we need to select date, years, right? One more time we need to select the date so that we get the month. By default there is quarters, so we need to change this to month. Change to month. Next is I'm going to select sales and put in the rows. So we got charts like this, right? So the next step to create control chart is to draw a reference line representing the average sales for that pane. Okay, so this is pane 1 for 2012, 2013, 14 and 15. I want to draw average sales in this pane and for this pane separately and this pane separately. So let's create add a reference line in the analytics. I'm going to select reference line and put in the pane. Okay, so in this reference line edit box, here you need to make sure that this is average sum of sales. Do you want to put any label? Means here you can see average is written. If you do not want any label, you can make it none. Okay, and what kind of line you want? This is the line, and okay. So this line represents the average sales for that pen for year 2012, 13, 14 and 15. Okay. Next is we need to add a reference band. The reference band, we need to create a threshold in which we will be drawing a band from lower limit to upper limit across this pane. And similarly, we want to do that for each and every pane. For that, we need to first define what is the lower limit and what is the upper limit. So let's create a calculated field first. So you need to know the threshold is decided as per the average and the standard deviation. Why we are going to take standard deviation is because standard deviation represent the values which are closer to the mean, to the average. Okay, the dispersion of values according to the average. For that, I'm going to create a calculated field. So I'm going to write upper range, upper sales, or you can write upper range of sales. And here the table calculation that we are going to use is window average. Now the window average can help us write the records for that. For that we want to calculate the average. Means here it's written start and end. So from which records we want to perform the calculation ending to which one, right? So as I told you, we want to perform the calculation for the pane. So I'm going to write the sum of sales here. So Windows average can allow us to perform the calculation for the table, for the complete table, for that particular pane like this, or for a cell, like in this case for June. Okay, so far we have written the average. Now what do we want to add? We want to add the standard deviation to this average so that we get the upper limit, and we will be subtracting from this average so that we get the lower limit. So we are going to add standard deviation, sum of sales. So this is the calculation we have got. So this is average, sum of sales, standard deviation, sum of sales. Apply this and okay. We have got the upper range. Similarly, we will create the lower range. For this, I'm going to write Windows average. Sum of sales minus. This time we will be subtracting because we want lesser to the average. Okay, this is the calculation that we have got for the lower range. Apply. Okay. Okay, so we have got lower range and upper range. So we need to draw a reference band. For that, we first need to put these in detail. We need to use these two calculated fields in the chart. So I'm going to select both. And then we are going to put these in detail. Now both of these are in the chart. Next is we go to Analytics tab and we select the reference band from here and we'll put in the pane. Now you can see in case of reference band, we can get a band from and band to. So in band from, we want it from the lower range, the calculated field that we have created, and this will be minimum. The value for that will be minimum. We do not want any label. And band 2 will be our upper range, and this will be maximum, no computation. And the line that we want is maybe this, and we want to make it dark red. So let's select this line, right? Dark red, and fill what color you want. You want to make it a bit lighter. Okay. So we have got this right now. Now, this is not perfect. Why? The reference band that has been created, we need to change it from the calculated field here. This is the calculated field. So from here, we want to compute this calculation using pane, because this is participating in the chart, this lower range, upper range. How do we want to use this in the chart is according to the pane. So we need to choose this from here. By default, it's table across. This is why it's called as table calculation. We can use it either for table, pane across down, and for cell, right? So far it's done. Any doubts so far? Please write.
No.
That's okay. Good. Okay. So next is we want the plots over here at all locations. What we can do, like on this line chart, wherever I have January, we need a dot. Here also we need dot. Everywhere I need dot. What we need to do? Please write in the chat box. What shall I do in this case if I want to get marks? You can see this chart that I've already created. We have got these marks. How can I get these marks? If, using if. Why do we need to use if, Sai? This time there is no condition. Last time we had a condition that we only want to put a mark at last. Okay. Now I want mark everywhere. Wherever I have points, this point, we need a mark. So this is relatively easier than what we had done before. This time we will create a copy of this chart. Okay. So you will understand once we complete this. I'm again going to select sum of sales and put in the rows. When we do that, we have got a duplicate of the same chart, right? So in the rows, we have sum of sales and sum of sales, a duplicate of that chart is created. Next, now we have got two sum of sales. This is the first one. This is the second one. In this case, there is no need to use this calculations, right? What we want is, we just want this chart to be a mark. So I'm going to change circle. Now this chart is just circles, and we will be making these circles over this chart. For that, I need to create a dual axis chart. Usually whenever we create dual axis chart, one chart represents something like one measure and the other chart represent another measure. And then we overlap those charts to create a dual axis chart. But this time the measure is same, but we are overlapping the different kinds of charts representing the same measure. Here also we are representing the sum of sales, And on these charts also we are representing the sum of sales. So next is right click here and dual axis. And next we need to synchronize. Must remember to synchronize axis. It was already synchronized. Okay. So this is how we can get marks over all the values. I hope this is clear to you why we have done this. Is it clear to you all? Okay, good. Which formula? The calculated field? Okay, so this is what I'm explaining. See, first understand this thing. This is the average, and we want to compute upper level and lower level. Okay, we want to create a threshold value, right? So for that, how we can do that? By using standard deviation. Standard deviation is dispersion of values along with the mean. Means we want to know the values how closer that to the mean, to the average. So this is, suppose this is the standard deviation we have got. So we add that, we add the standard deviation values to the average. Yeah, average, this is the average, right? This is the average. If I want to know the upper level, I need to add the standard deviation values to the average to get that, and I need to subtract that from the average to get the lower band. Okay, and the window average we have used in order to create the table calculation, so that we can use these two calculated field for each pane. So this is one pane, second, third, fourth. For each pane, we want to compute that calculation. Yes. Okay, so next, the chart is created now. Next, we need to color these red. Maybe we should color only these red, or maybe we can color these red also. Although the sales are higher than the threshold, but that's okay. Let's color. You can easily make the formula. If you do not want to color these, you can do that also. So let's create a formula. Okay, how we can color is, we need to create a calculated field, and we'll use that calculated field in the color. And then the color, these marks will be colored according to that. So let's do it. Create a calculated field, and I'm going to name this as range color maybe. So here we will be writing, if the sum of sales is greater than upper range. So this means these sales. This is the upper range and these sales. Or sum of sales less than lower range. Right? So these values. Then do what? Then make it out of range or out of threshold, whatever you want to write. Else, make it in range. Okay, next end. So this is the calculation that we have created, right? So if the sum of sales is greater than or lower than the lower range, then make it out of range, else in range. So instead of using it somewhere in the columns or rows, I'm using it in mark. So this is the thing that you have learned now is it's not always required to use a calculated field somewhere in rows or columns. You can go ahead and use that calculated field in these marks as well. So we are going to put in color. Okay, so one thing is I want to put in the second chart because I want to color the marks, the dots. So second chart is my dots, which has created dots. So I'm going to put this in the color of second. So it has colored, but actually it has colored the ones which are in the range red. So we can change the color to make it sense. So we want to make out of range orange and we want to make in range blue. So this is the final chart we have created, and this is called as control chart, which can help us find out where do we want control and what are the sales which are in control and what are the range which are not in control. Is this clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good, good. So okay, today you have learned three kind of charts: spark lines, slope chart, and control chart, all based on time series analysis. So you can practice these assignments I've already given to you in your LP Live class. You can go ahead and solve these. I'll provide you the solutions also. And also the syllabus. These, are you, yeah, this is what I'm saying, right? This is sales, right? In this case, if we do not want to check out actually the whether it is for profit or not, that we will get to know about the cost and revenue, right? So what was the actual, this is about sales only, right? From sales we cannot get to know about the profit. Okay, so this is just about sales, which are more, means in the months of October, November and December, sales are comparatively higher and very higher than the threshold, than the threshold that we have decided. Okay, so it depends on you whether you want to highlight these or not, or you just want to highlight the sales which are lesser as compared to the lesser than the threshold or the lower range. Okay, so companies can decide where to put more focus. Here we need to put more focus, right? Here we should give offer to the customers, and here the sales are already high, so we do not need to put much efforts in this case. Okay. Okay.